Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Hopeful in sci-fi? Don't we normally get worlds where everything's on fire and humanity is basically one bad day away from extinction? And yeah, guilty as charged. A lot of sci-fi does lean that way, especially more modern stories. I've even written some pretty dark stuff myself. But it doesn't have to be. A story can still have death, sadness, and the occasional existential gut punch, and still end on a note of optimism. That's what I mean by hopeful sci-fi. The final note the book leaves you with isn't despair, but possibility. So here are 5 hopeful sci-fi books you need to read, kicking off with Way Station by Clifford D. Simak. This one is honestly like the literary equivalent of a warm cup of tea on a rainy afternoon. Clifford D. Simak's Way Station, published in 1963, tells the story of Enoch Wallace, a man living quietly in rural America who just so happens to be running a galactic relay station for alien travelers. Not exactly your average day job. Imagine having to host interstellar visitors in your backyard, while the rest of your neighbours think you're just some eccentric recluse. And you can't exactly pop down to the pub and let off steam to the locals about the plumbing in the teleportation booth, right? What makes this book so special though is Simak's touch. He's not trying to wow you with flashy gadgets or space battles. Instead, he slows everything down and focuses on the quiet dignity of one man's responsibility and what it means to bridge the gap between worlds. The novel wrestles with themes of isolation, human connection, and our place in the wider cosmos. And the ending, without spoiling anything, it doesn't collapse into despair or tragedy. Instead, it offers reconciliation and the possibility that humanity might one day take its place in a peaceful galactic community, gentle, thoughtful, and profoundly hopeful. My new book, Tao Solandis, is now available. Links in the description because, well, of course it is. It's set at the end of time where an ancient AI guards the final stories of the universe. These are 6 interconnected tales of sci-fi with heart, brains, and just a sprinkle of existential dread. So if that sounds like your thing, grab a copy now before the heat death of the universe kills us all. Up next is First Contact by Murray Leinster. Murray Leinster's First Contact, published in 1945, is a short story, but it packs in more tension than a lot of novels 10 times its length. It takes one of the most classic sci-fi setups you can imagine. 2 alien ships meet out in deep space. Neither side knows anything about the other. Both are terrified of giving away too much information, both are convinced the other might be planning some sneaky move, and every interaction is fraught with mistrust. Yeah, a little on the nose, but I think you can see what he's getting at. You can almost feel the sweat dripping from the crew as they try to figure out how not to die. It's basically the ultimate awkward first date, except instead of worrying about who pays the bill, the stakes are, well, possibly total annihilation. What's brilliant about this story is that Leinster doesn't let it collapse into cliched violence. Instead, he imagines a way for these 2 suspicious, frightened civilizations to part peacefully. No betrayal, no bloodshed, no we shot first because we panicked. It's hope through diplomacy and cleverness. Up next at number 3 we have Childhood's End. Arthur C. Clarke's Childhood's End, published in 1953, is one of those books that feels both epic and unsettling at the same time. It begins in a way that, on the surface, looks like the start of a standard invasion story. Massive alien ships suddenly appear over Earth and humanity braces for the worst. You expect laser beams, resistance fighters, and maybe Jeff Goldblum hacking the mothership. But Clarke has no interest in that. Instead, the aliens, who call themselves the Overlords, nothing to worry about there, quietly take charge, bringing an end to war, hunger, and inequality. On paper, that sounds amazing. The catch? They're mysterious, secretive, and clearly have their own agenda. The genius of Clarke is that he uses this premise to explore the big questions. What does it mean for humanity to grow up? What are we capable of if we're guided, or maybe pushed, toward a different future? It's not all shiny, happy people though. There are sacrifices and moments of real sadness. But where the book lands is remarkable. Without spoiling anything, Clarke points not to annihilation, but to transcendence. It's not the ending you expect, or possibly even want. It's awe-inspiring, unsettling, and yes, in my opinion, profoundly hopeful. Up next is Downward to Earth by Robert Silverberg. Published in 1970, Downward to Earth is a very different kind of hopeful sci-fi. Silverberg dives straight into guilt, spirituality and redemption. The novel follows Edmund Gunderson, a former colonial administrator who returns to the alien world of Belzegor years after it gained independence. Think of it as a kind of cosmic going back to your old job to apologize for being a terrible boss. Gunderson is forced to reckon with the way he and other humans exploited the planet's intelligent species during colonial rule. Another on-the-nose allegory? Maybe, but it works. What makes this book so powerful is how Silverberg presents the aliens here. He gives them a worldview, a spirituality, and a way of life that's genuinely alien but deeply meaningful. As Gunderson begins to understand what he missed or dismissed in the past, the story shifts from regret to the possibility of renewal. It's not an easy book. It's intense, sometimes strange, and certainly unflinching. Classic Silverberg, but the final note it strikes is profoundly hopeful that even after mistakes there's still room for growth, forgiveness and change. Before the last book in this list, because I always struggle with just 5, here are 3 honourable mentions if you're looking for hopeful sci-fi. First up, The Great Silence by Ted Chiang. This is a short story that takes the famous Fermi paradox, which is where are all the aliens, and flips it into something poignant. Told from the perspective of parrots, it reflects on humanity's constant search for alien voices while ignoring the intelligent ones on Earth. It's lyrical, strange, and quietly profound. Instead of despair at cosmic silence, it finds hope in the possibility of connection and compassion. A tiny story, but one that lingers long after you've read it. 1986's Speaker for the Dead by Orson Scott Card is the follow-up to Ender's Game. It abandons space battles and child soldiers in favour of something more mature, understanding. Decades after Ender's past actions, he travels to a distant colony to investigate the mysterious deaths of settlers and the aliens they live alongside. The story unfolds as a meditation on empathy, reconciliation and atonement. Instead of framing the alien as the enemy to be destroyed, Card builds a narrative where the greatest achievement is to listen, to understand, and to heal. Then there's Black Milk by this guy called D. William Moore. Ha, yes, this one is mine. I was reluctant to add this since it feels like blatant self-promo, but honestly, when I think about hopeful stories, I can't think of anything more hopeful than someone learning to live again after the tragic loss of his family, which is basically what this story is about. At its heart, Black Milk is about grief, obsession, and the cost of refusing to let go. Prometheus is given the chance to bring his wife back from the dead, but doing so will doom Earth itself. The novel spans centuries, worlds, and dimensions, intertwining the lives of an AI sent back through time, a woman searching for a new home for humanity, a scientist whose choices ripple through time, and even Tom Jones, the singer. Well, sort of, trapped in a digital limbo. Ultimately, Prometheus must learn why death is necessary or risk losing the universe to his sorrow. Finally, but not leastly, The Steps of the Sun by Walter Tevis. Published in 1983, The Steps of the Sun is one of those books that doesn't get talked about nearly as much as it should. Tevis is better known for The Queen's Gambit or The Man Who Fell to Earth, but this late novel has its own quiet power. The setup is a future where Earth is running out of energy, society is tense, people are anxious, and the future feels like it's shrinking instead of expanding. Sound familiar? Honestly, if you've ever looked at your electricity bill and thought, maybe candles aren't so bad, you'll recognise the vibe. The main character is a wealthy businessman who decides that the solution is to look outward, to the stars. What follows is a mix of personal struggle, planetary politics, and space-faring adventure. There's definitely a melancholic tone running through it. Tevis never sugarcoats humanity's flaws, but he also never leaves us in despair. By the end, the story leans towards survival, renewal, and the rediscovery of humanity's cosmic ambition. What makes it hopeful is that it doesn't deny how bad things can get. Instead, it reminds us that we're capable of reaching beyond immediate crises, of refusing to give up. So that's the list. Hopeful sci-fi isn't about ignoring the dark stuff, it's about refusing to end there. These books remind us that even in the worst circumstances, there's always a chance for light to break through. Which hopeful sci-fi books have you read? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to grow this list with your recommendations. And if you like this video and want more sci-fi recs, watch this next one on sci-fi books with weird alien tech you really need to read.